A refreshing new take or a letdown? Let's talk about it.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern niche or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be talking about one of the newer flankers, or the newest flanker from Abdul Qurashi's Safari line. This is called Safari Bleu. So Safari Extreme has been one of my favorite from the entire line of Abdul Qurashi fragrances. It's not going to be the most mass appealing or the safest fragrance. No, it's actually a pretty oriental fragrance. And this fragrance says that it's inspired by the African sense, nuances, etc. And I can kind of sense that growing up amongst multiple races, especially from brothers from Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, a lot of other African countries. In their perfumery, there are a lot of white florals, some fruits at the top, oudi, leather, saffron, etc. It's kind of like Middle Eastern with their own type of floral nuances. And that's exactly what this one captures and gets that whole vibe with the best quality, period. It's predominantly going to be the saffron leather oud fragrance with a lot of those white florals and even multiple different type of florals and some of those fruits at the top. Not safe, but elegant and smells like $1,000,000. Leather saffron combination. Like I said, one of my favorite. Lasts all freaking day as well. So when this one came out, which is called Safari Bleu, I was extremely excited. Same exact presentation, very thick cardboard box, and inside the cutout is going to be the fragrance in itself. This glass weighs a lot for both of these. The quality of the glass on both of these are pretty much the same. It actually feels like the glass might have been slightly improved in the new one, along with some of the dimensions have been slightly changed. It's a bit longer than it is thick, but barely even noticeable. But it is also taller in about, I would say, about 1/4 of an inch. All in all, I feel like the glass and the polish on the newer one, the Safari Bleu, does seem like it's a step up slightly. The cap is pretty much the same. It's this very thick glass, or not even glass. I think this might be condensed thick plastic, but it feels like glass. It slides onto place. I would not recommend you carry it by the cap because I did that and it fell. The atomizer on both of these is excellent stuff, A+, and the scent profile of this one is where I was not expecting what it ended up smelling like. My initial reaction with the first spray of this fragrance was, okay, this is not what I was expecting, like at all. I'm not necessarily disappointed or let down. There it is. There it is. Okay, but anyways, I'm not necessarily disappointed or let down by the scent profile, but it's extremely familiar. I mean, it's like, it smells a lot like Bleu de Chanel. It has its own twist, it does its own little thing, but it's relatively close. Most of the difference is going to be in the opening. Some of the notes for Abdul Qurashi Safari Bleu include, by the way, finding the notes is a little bit hard. Sometimes when you go on their website, their actual website will say note breakdown, but it's corrupted data or it's just not even there. So per Profumo or Parfumo.com or Parfumo.com, it's called, the top notes are ginger, grapefruit, pink pepper, and in the mid we've got lavender, lily of the valley, nutmeg, and amber, cashmere, and patchouli in the base. So as you can tell, there are a lot of notes that are going to be missing from one to another, and this is not a clone per se, but it's definitely an inspired feeling to the entire DNA. It just seems like they might not have been thinking about Bleu de Chanel, but they wanted to go with something blue, and it's not that unique. It's actually not unique at all. It smells a lot like, for me personally, Bleu de Chanel. I understand that a lot of companies want to have a fragrance that's more mass appealing, etc. And if that's what they were looking for, and it is what they were looking for, they absolutely achieved that with this fragrance. And they also achieved the fact that it's a blue fragrance, so it smells like the bottle looks. Now, how close and is it too similar to Bleu de Chanel? In my opinion, it is too similar. That's number one. Number two, though, there are some differences, and the differences are going to be as follows per what I experienced through my wearing. I compared this one with the EDT Bleu de Chanel, the Parfum, and the Eau de Parfum, yes. And it got the closest to Eau de Parfum while still maintaining certain differences. Bleu de Chanel has more of a zingy, zesty, citrusy nature to it, and I'm talking about all the flankers, which comes off the skin a little bit more. Whereas Safari Bleu definitely has a little bit more of those musky qualities, some floral nuances, like that addition of lavender, which you don't see in Bleu de Chanel. It seems like a bit more of a thicker, full-bodied, muskier version of the whole Bleu de Chanel vibe. The Bleu de Chanel did project a little bit better, considering the fact that a lot of those notes, the more volatile notes, although they dry off, they did come off the skin a lot more so than this one. With the Safari Bleu, it wasn't necessarily a non-projector, but it gave me, I would say, maybe a foot less than Bleu de Chanel. Total longevity for this one was great. It was about 8 hours for the first wearing, and I would assume that it'll probably get even stronger as this one sits. However, with Bleu de Chanel, it's really not that bad either. I get 8 to 10 hours out of Bleu de de Chanel as well. I will say though that the presentation on this takes the cake easily. This versus the Bleu de Chanel, this one takes the cake easily. Just the bottle design, etc. It's so much nicer looking. But you do have to consider the fact that this is a 75 ml 2.5, and right now I'll put a bunch of links down in the description where it is the cheapest. It's around, I think it's less than $200. It's probably around the same price for Bleu de Chanel. So you have to consider the facts. The facts are that it does get relatively close. The fact is the only difference is going to be some of those zingy natures, the citruses, etc. And also that's no surprise when we look at some of the note breakdown for Bleu de Chanel that it includes something of citron. There's some mint, pepper, coriander. I definitely detect a lot of that here, but I don't detect anything like citron. It kind of takes that entire DNA and refines it a little bit with the addition of that cashmere in the base. So overall, it is a more well refined or rounded, I'll just say that it's a rounded version without any protrusion of notes in comparison to Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. So who will that suit? For example, those of you who like the blue vibes, etc., but find Bleu de Chanel to be a little bit too, protruding in the sense that the citruses is too attention grabbing, etc. You want the total refinement. This definitely does that. So I have to give it credit where credit is due, but the credit also is due to Bleu de Chanel as well. It does the blue vibes, one of the best. It is probably one of the best. It is the best blue. This one takes that DNA, adds some cashmere in, takes some lavender, maybe some addition of florals, tones down some of that citron, the very bright and protruding citruses, and rebottles it into this. Basically, that's kind of what I get out of this one. Not totally let down, but this didn't really scratch the itch that I had for expecting something from ASQ, Abdul Qurashi. I expected something different. I'm not totally let down, but like I said, it was not what I was expecting. But now, considering the name, etc., yes, it is exactly what it should have been, Safari Blue. But honestly, even with that in consideration, the whole Safari, it's not really much of a Safari fragrance per se. Maybe something tropical blue would have been more suiting or fitted. Still not a bad fragrance. I think that anybody that picks this one up from Abdul Qurashi will not be let down. It does have, like I said, its own little funk that comes from the whole Abdul Qurashi family of fragrances. The cashmere, and there's this musky nature that's inconsistency with a lot of their other fragrances that you will detect in this one as well. That gives it that posh and opulence vibe. It's their musk and their cashmere. So with the addition of that to the whole Bleu de Chanel vibe, this one is a solid, I would say 7.5 out of 10. Not the most interesting, but not bad by any means, and slightly above neutral for me, in my opinion. So Safari Blue, that's pretty much what I think about it. It lasted for about 8 hours, projected for a good, like, I would say 3 feet, and leaving good scent trails. I did get a compliment while rocking this one, and the scent trail was for like a good 2.5 hours tops, I would say personally. I stopped sniffing myself at around hour 8, but I would imagine that on clothing, the musky blue vibe is gonna be there up until hour 10. This is a pretty masculine type of fragrance, unless you ladies like to wear something of Bleu de Chanel. That's pretty much all I have to say about this fragrance. Let me know down in the comments what you're thinking about Safari Blue, and if you've ever gotten your nose on this and what your expectations versus what you sniffed were. While you're down there, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. Till the next video, peace.